The Alco RS-1 was a 4-axle road switcher diesel-electric locomotive built by Alco GE between 1941 and 1953, and the American Locomotive Company from 1953 to 1960. The Montreal Locomotive Works built 3 RS-1s in 1954. This model has the distinction of having the longest production run of any diesel locomotive for the North American market. The RS-1 was in production for 19 years, from the first unit Rock Island, number 748, in March 1941, to the last unit, NDM, number 5663, in March 1960. The hood configuration of the RS-1 pioneered the road switcher type of diesel locomotive, beginning to move away from the car body units, which were the standard design for road diesel locomotives before then. The first 13 production locomotives were requested by the U.S. Army. The 5 railroads affected had to wait while replacements were manufactured. The RS-1s that the Army took were remanufactured by Alco into 6-axle RSD-1s for use on the Trans-Iranian Railway to supply the Soviet Union during World War II. So let's talk about the model. MSRP on this model is $269.95 with DCC and sound, and then the DC version is $174.95. This is a model from an older run, so to see the newer paint schemes, I will leave a link in the description to the Atlas website where you can see the newer paint schemes. Since this is from an older run, it is going to have a little bit older decoder. That's not really going to affect the sound quality at all. It's just going to affect whether or not it has drive hold. So that is a note. This locomotive does not have the traditional drive hold that we're used to now with ESU. The detail and paint on this model is superb. All of the grading is really well done. All the wire grab irons are nice, and it has all sorts of little tiny details that the Alcos had. One thing that I don't like about this model is that it doesn't have the Minneapolis and St. Louis style bell right here. The Minneapolis and St. Louis locomotives all had an enormous steam style bell right on top of the locomotive. In place of that, this has a traditional diesel style bell right here. All Minneapolis and St. Louis RS-1s were orientated with long hood forward operation, which means that the locomotive would face this way when going forward. The crews didn't prefer this because when going around a curve, the long hood would get in the way of vision. Atlas has, of course, made this a long hood forward locomotive, as you can see by the F right here on the front of the long hood. You can also see that the cab figures are orientated for long hood forward operation, and the horn is facing long hood forward. So props to Atlas for adding those little prototype details. On the front of the locomotive, you have a LED illuminated headlight, wire grab irons on the top and all down the side. You also have the road number printed on the front of the locomotive. Further down, we have a coupler cut bar that runs across the top, Atlas style couplers, and an air hose. All the handrails are very well done, and they're very sturdy, and none of them were bent or wavy in any way. On the side of the locomotive is the number board. It's not separately controlled from the headlight, it's lit with the same LED, so whenever the headlight's on, the number boards will be illuminated. Here we have the radiator grills, which are very well defined. They're not see-through, but there wouldn't be much point in having them see-through because there's a massive weight behind them that makes this locomotive pull a ton of cars. Further down the side of the locomotive, you can see Minneapolis and St. Louis, which is very well done and looks really, really good. You can also see all the vents on all of the engine access doors, and all of these doors are very well defined and look very good. On the other end of the locomotive, you can see the brake wheel, LED illuminated headlight, number boards, grab irons, and those sturdy handrails. On the top of the locomotive is a slightly see-through radiator hatch, which looks very good. You can also see 2 sand filler hatches and a wire grab iron on the top. Further down the side of the locomotive, you can see the engine access doors on the top and the single exhaust stack. Truck detail isn't too crazy since it's all painted black, but there are separately applied brake cylinders, and the springs look really good. Here you can see the fuel tank and the battery boxes. You can also see the bell, which is not prototype specific, as I mentioned earlier. No matter which way you look at it, this Atlas Masterline RS-1 looks great. This locomotive was purchased new for $160, which is an amazing deal, and if you look around on eBay, you can find them for even less. So this locomotive is a extremely well-priced, very good-looking locomotive. It also sounds amazing like all Alcos do. Thank you guys very much for watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I will leave a link in the description to where you can purchase some of these RS-1s.